Let's get started with abstraction. The core issue in our measurement paradigm is in the way that we choose to abstract data. So the important thing is to understand how a metric properly abstracts. When a person performs a behavior, it's like putting a footprint in the sand, right? A person walked here. They put a foot here, and then the next foot and the next foot tells you overall where they are going. The detailed person might say the footprint is X inches long. It was probably male. The scope person will say it looks like the foot tracks on the beach tracked from the edge of the water to the porta potty over on the other end. So they probably had a behavioral action of needing to use the restroom. Both of those metrics used the footprint, right? But one was highly detailed. And as you move up in scale, you are abstracting that data. You are making more assumptions and more inferences. So let's talk about a typical metric that you might find, one of the easiest metrics in online community. This is going to be daily over monthly active users. John O'Bacon adores this metric, and I think that it is probably the lowest hanging fruit, bar end place for you to start for measuring your online community. So how does this metric abstract? Well, first it starts by defining in a daily active user what active means. What is an activity? And you can have a user publish a new post on your forum, or you can have that user comment. You can have that user add a like or something like that. And then you are inferring and you are ascribing a value to that activity. If they're going to do a new post, I value that more than a comment. So posts will be worth 5 points, comments will be worth 2 points, and a react will be worth 1. And what that is doing is it's attaching a specific activity report on the back end of your CRM or your community intelligence platform or whatever you're using to measure. It is procking that and is saying, count the fact that a new post went up and that it's ascribed to this user. So you've now assigned that activity. And once you have defined the action and ascribed a value to it, you can now go to the next layer of abstraction, which is your formula. You've performed an action, which is worth X value over an amount of time. So today, they performed an action that was worth 5 or 4 points. And then on the back end, you also have a, did this person do any activity at all today? Check the box, this counts. And that allows you to move up to the fourth layer of abstraction, which is your system. This is where your OKRs and your KPIs live. This is where DAU over MAU is actually seen. And while we're at it, we can use this exact same atomic metric system, the new post or the comment, to ascribe activity points. And that gives us top contributors. All of this goes into what we thought was the simplest metric, y'all. These are basic, allegedly. Right? That's 4 layers of complex data abstraction, data flow metrics, and connection to do what is the most basic metric for GitHub in the open source community. When you see the contribution calendar on any individual user in GitHub and open source community, you'll see that the amount of activity that they do lightens up the square, and doing any activity at all makes it green. And you can also see up in the top right, Venu actually lauded and appreciated his activity for any given month, basically saying, these are the days that I contributed. And by doing so, you can say most people are contributing a certain percentage of time over any given month. And of the individuals who engaged on day A, when we did an event, their activity was higher than people who didn't attend. That tells you the event was useful. That tells you that you have an active community. That tells you the percentage or quality of their interactions and whether or not you have community health. All of that from 2 simple atomic metrics. Did they post and did they comment, user by user? This is the most basic of metrics. How do we now expand that to understand the impact of your community health beyond thinking, feeling human beings? It's hard enough to do it with a simple action like DAU over MAU, right? How do you now determine, are people actually having a good time? Is Is DEI being respected? Are people talking outside of the purview of my public spaces? Are private messages being done? Are people building bonding capital? How do you measure all of that stuff? And the reality is community managers have to abstract way too much data. There's too many abstraction layers. DAU over MAU is 4 layers of abstraction. The typical marketing metric is 7 layers of abstraction. When we go into community, we're looking at 14, 15. No wonder you can't report your community value and your community ROI, because you don't have a system that can handle all of that abstraction. And that is the very nature of the data fire hose for community. So we're going to go ahead and try and solve it now.